Australians will be listening to what is going to happen in this chamber today with relating to the saving the Australian dairy industry. As I've raised previously, we are losing equivalent to one dairy farmer a week in Australia. They are devastated that they are actually being stopped. This government, when I hear the Nationals say, but we are doing what we can to help the dairy industry, is not the truth. For 4.5 years since there has been inquiry after inquiry into the dairy industry, nothing has happened. There's been talk about a code of conduct. Where is it? It was only because I forced the issue that this code of conduct has been drafted up, and it is a pathetic draft, absolutely pathetic. It is not addressing it. Why have we moved from so far from the ACCC recommendations of their dairy code of conduct to something that has been drafted on the run that is protecting the processors? A lot of the dairy industries that I've met admit that it does not go far enough to protect the dairy farmers. All that I'm asking for, and what the people of Australia want, is a fair farm gate price. A fair farm gate price for their milk. You can't expect them to run a business if they are not getting paid the cost of their milk to produce that milk. Don't you understand where we are? We're in dire straits in this nation. We had 22,000 dairy farmers. We're down now to 5,200, according to what the minister tells me last week. We've lost another 500 just in the last year and a half, if that. And that doesn't mean to say that these people are producing milk. A lot of them have held on to their registration just purely hoping that the industry will turn around. This government has been so supportive of our dairy industry being sold to foreign interest. Chinese own the biggest dairy industry in Tasmania, about 19,000 head of cattle. They're exporting their milk overseas. There is no reason why we should be supporting this. They want to now buy up Bellamy's, which has been supported by our Treasurer, Freinberg, and people here who said, what's the problem with that? We've gone from, in the year 2000, from 12 billion litres of milk. Now we're just scraping over 8 billion litres of milk. You talk about registering the industry. People must understand that this industry is not about what it was previously, where it was supported by the state and federal government. This is not going to be supported by either party. This is about either government. This is about the farmers doing having a contract in place that the processors must pay them a fair price for their milk. And you're going to deny that. There is nowhere else in the world. We're the only country that doesn't have a regulated industry. Even New Zealand, their milk is regulated. Every country, if you look at America, you look at Europe, they've regulated the dairy industry, and they're powering ahead in their export market and their domestic market. They're producing more milk now. But you are so blinded, so bloody minded, that you are prepared to actually destroy the dairy industry in Australia. That is our food security. That's the people. Exactly right. Where are the Nats? Where's the National Party on this? Where are you standing up for them and the dairy industry? Have you been out to any of the dairy farmers? Have you actually looked in their eyes? Have you ever seen what they're going through? You have no idea. If you don't support this bill to give them the fair farm gate price, all it is, I don't want to hear the same old rhetoric because, you know, the actions on this floor of Parliament speak for themselves.
Order. Can I remind senators? Can I remind senators? Firstly, interjections are disorderly. Secondly, this is a procedural motion about whether a bill should be called on for debate, not a substantive second reading speech on the bill. Senator Hanson to continue in silence.
This is where it is so important. We're about to finish up in this parliament in about 4 days. At the end of this week, we're going to go on our holidays. Or those that do have holiday, probably holiday from this place, but a lot of us will continue to work. But the whole fact is that the people out there are trying to grasp at straws to hold on. to pay their bills. And when I hear a National Party member, and Senator McDonald says, oh well, we should get the retailers, we should get Woolworths and Coles to actually collect the money from the consumer, then pass back through the processes back to the dairy farmers. You tell me, what other industry do we do that in Australia? What other industry? Do we tell the strawberry farmers? Do we tell, the fruit growers, sorry, you won't get your money until the retailers have sold their product, and then we'll give you back what we think is fair? Didn't we try that? Didn't Woolworths and Coles actually put an extra 10 cents, which went back to dairy farmers, and then they put another 10 cents on top of that, and that money didn't go back to them? Do you really trust them? These two organisations that have the biggest monopoly in the country, these are the people, Woolworths, who underpaid their workers by $300 million, didn't pay them right wages, and you trust them to do this? There is no common sense to what you're saying here, that the farmer should not get at least a production cost. The bill covers the fact is a fair farm gate price. Even now Barnaby Joyce has come out and he's actually saying they should receive a fair farm gate price. And then you've got the other part of the bill is the ACCC will oversee the regions to ensure that they are actually going to be, they will stipulate what the fair farm gate price is. Not the parliament, not the members of this House or chamber or any parliament. That is up to an organisation to actually set that up. And the third part of the bill is the divestiture, so that they can actually, the processors will not control the market. Most of the processors in the country are foreign-owned. Do you really think it's in their best interest? And let me tell you about the foreign ownership that you've allowed all our industries and manufacturing and our essential services to be privatised in the country. We've got over 750 multinational companies here that have a turnover of $612 billion a year, and you know how much tax they pay? $10 billion. Oh, the coalition thought they would be wonderful to actually increase and go after multinationals from paying their taxes here. What I've been advocating since 1997, that they pay their taxes in Australia. You did a wonderful job. You've reined it in by 1.63%. We've got an extra $125 million. How wonderful you guys are. So, you are prepared to see a dairying industry that goes back in tradition in this country of providing the milk that we need for the domestic market. If you think it's going to actually upset the world trade, it doesn't work that way. This is a domestic market. How it can affect trade agreements is if we actually subsidise the dairying industry, they increase production, which then affected the world market. We're nowhere near that. What we are doing is ensuring that we have a dairying industry for future generations. Otherwise, I'll tell you now, we'll be buying long-life milk out of New Zealand. Their production is up to 22 billion people, to 22 billion litres a year. That's what their production is. So the fact is that we need to protect our dairying industry in Australia, how important it is. And the people of this nation will be watching this today to see what we are going to do about it. So I call on those people, have a good look at this, who if you're opposing this, and I say to you, get the bloody guts to stand up as an individual and represent your constituency and the people of this nation, because they feel as if they've been absolutely forgotten. These people are on their knees. And now I've got a dairy farmer up in Scenic Rim who has to sign a contract with the processor to get 50 cents a litre for the milk. That is well and truly below production for a 6-year contract. This is what the processors are doing. They're screwing them so that they can't make any money out of it. All they want is a fair farm gate price. It is bullying. It is bullying and it's not fair on the farmers here. You're going through this issue now, and I tell you what, the people of Australia feel the coalition government is not supporting them enough as far as the drought goes. You've brought in all these measures, you're going to give them all this money, the paperwork, and it takes months and months and months before they get any assistance from the government. Do you really understand what is happening in this country? I don't think you do. And the people are sick and tired of your same old rhetoric. I'm sick and sick and tired of procrastination that happens in this chamber, because we all have our wages. We're given our wages. These people have to fight tooth and nail to be able to get a fair go. That's all they want, is a fair go. But since this industry was deregulated in year 2000, it's done nothing but go downhill. All the way gone downhill, because you have free trade agreements, because you believe in deregulation. It hasn't helped. Surely you can see that. You can see what's happened to our industry here, that it hasn't helped the dairy farmer. These communities are shutting down. These dairy farmers put a lot of money into these small towns, these communities. If you actually destroy that, you're going to shut down a lot of communities. You're going to shut down jobs. And what's important to me is a way of life. That's what we still have in Australia, is about a way of life. It's got nothing to do with the fact is, how much money they make, and this attitude that you have, get big or get out. It's not about getting big or getting out. It's about a way of life, that these people, they've been in for generations, they want to be on the land, that's their right to be on the land. Whether they make $1 million a year or whether they make a few dollars just to put a roof over their head and feed their family, that is their choice. Well, it was, until everything that we've touched, not me, because I wasn't part of this, but governments have ruined this nation with their policies that they brought in, and destroying the Australian way of life and standard of living is because of government policies, both state and federal, have changed over the years. So all the people, and if you've got the guts, get out the front this morning and go and meet with the farmers, if you're prepared to go and meet them. And that's another issue to do with the water. But this is where we need to actually debate this whole issue. Put it up on the floor of Parliament today. Let's put it to the vote and let's see how you vote on it. See if you're prepared to stand up and back the people in your own constituency as far as the dairy industry goes. Senator Rennick is quite... he wants to keep having a go at me because he's not... I don't think he really understands. Senator Rennick, fair enough, he says he's from the land and he understands what it is to be on the land. But if he votes against this dairy bill without pure common sense and explain to him why it needs to be voted against, then he doesn't have an argument. He's just like the rest of the sheep, follow the party line, put up your hand when you're told to put up your hand, and that's exactly why. And that's why I find a lot of people don't have the bloody guts to stand up for what they truly believe in this place, because you won't get pre-selection next time around. Well, isn't it a shame? At least I tell you what, whether I get elected at the next election or not, I will be able to look back and think that I stood up for, in principle, I stood up for what I believed in, and I wasn't dictated to by anyone on anything. And I will know that the people would judge me, because if I go against my conscience and what I truly believe in, fighting for the people out there on certain issues, then I will be judging myself for the rest of my life because I didn't stand up for what I truly believed in. And it's a shame that other people don't. And I can speak from experience and talking to other former members of Parliament who regret that they never had the guts to stand up for what they truly believed in. And if you understand what this place is about, people out there are watching us on how we vote, what we say, how we react, and our actions speak louder than words. And they're depending on us to make the right decisions for their future and for their well-being and for the future of this nation. And you know what the talk is at the moment? They're sick and tired of seeing the Chinese have so much influence in our nation, whether it be whether it's a parliament or whether it's in industries or whether it's social media or whether it's our educational areas, everything. And yet I don't see that you're really standing up to fight against it. And that's what the people see. Our actions will speak for themselves and the people will judge us. So I'm asking you, let this debate, let this go through this bill, then we'll have a vote at the end of it, and let the people know that we do support them, and I hope this bill gets up so we can give them a bit of hope that someone out there is, that we are really listening to them. That's what the people want. They need hope, that we really care. And I've got to ask you the question. If you want to get up, Senator Rennick, if you want to actually pose this, and I'll say it to you then, by opposing this of giving a fair farm gate price for the milk, What have you got to win by it, or what have they got to lose? What is it? If you deny a fair farm gate price for the milk, what on earth are you going to win by it? Who's going to be the losers out of this? Because at the moment we haven't got a fair farm gate price. At the moment we are losing the people out there. We've got suicides that are happening. We've got people losing their properties, their homes. It's a pity if it wasn't you and weren't wearing their shoes. What would you do? What would you beg? What would you ask of the people trying to make the decisions for you? Isn't it about giving them just a fair price for their milk? Isn't that what it's about? To ensure that we do have the right, milk on the floor, on our shelves, to provide for it? Or are you going to be quite happy with powdered milk? Or the fact is that the dairy industry is going to be bought up by the Chinese, because as they walk away, then you've got foreign interests buying it up. They're going to go from paddock to plate. There's nothing in the legislation that says that these companies have to keep their milk here in Australia, as Van Diemen's Land is exporting 2 plane loads of milk a week to China, getting $9 a litre for their milk. So there's nothing to say that we have to force them to keep the food here in Australia. It's all about food security. That's why it's important that we have to look at the future of this nation as this food security. And I do thank the Labor Party for supporting me on the dairy bill in the past, and I do thank the Greens for their support on the dairy industry. They get it. It is a coalition that have turned their back on it, and it's been mostly the National Party that have turned their back on the farming sector and the dairy industry in Australia, turned their back on them. And when they get up and say, but she's stolen our policies, this was our policy. Oh look, it's there, our wish list, but we won't do anything about it. And that's exactly what they haven't done anything about it. And then they say, but we got the code of conduct up on the sugar industry. BS, did not. It was because I pushed the issue that we got the code of conduct up on the sugar industry. In a matter of 5 hours you could get it up and have the code of conduct. Why has this taken weeks to get the code of conduct up on the dairy industry, when you know damn well you've changed it around so it is assisting the processors? The processors, it says, if they come under financial strain or legislation has changed, then they shouldn't lose any profits whatsoever. Where is it in that contract for the farmers? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So don't tell me you're looking after the dairy farmers. This has all been set up for Mackenzie because her state, Victoria, I'll tell you what the herd size is.
Senator, I remind senators to maintain the decorum of the chamber and you address people by their title.
Senator Mackenzie is looking after her state. She's a senator for Victoria, but she's not the Minister of Agriculture for this nation. She has been pathetic in her handling of this, and she can put her tantrums on and throw the furniture around her office all as much as she wants to. But the fact is that this has to be dealt with. And this is about the people of this nation, the dairy industry that we need support. She might want to back up her dairy industry that's got 64.3% of the herd in Victoria as the rest of the nation goes under, so they can export their milk to Queensland and get 87 cents a litre, like that from Milko. But the rest of the nation and dairy farmers up there are lucky to get 61 cents a litre. Yes, they do want to see them go under in Queensland and the rest of the country because they get more money in Victoria. So this is all about protecting her own interests, not about the farmers out there. And to say that she never heard from any of the dairy farmers, well, I've had the Queensland dairy industry from Queensland representing 78.
Lock the doors. The question is the motion moved by Senator Hanson be agreed to. The ayes will pass to the right of the chair, the noes to the left of the chair. I appoint Senator Urquhart teller for the ayes, Senator Dean Smith teller for the noes, and I ask senators to take their seats to enable the tellers to do a count.
I don't support this and give it to the dairy industry a fair farm gate price, then they're the ones that are going to prove the Australian people they don't give a damn about our agricultural industry. It's all smoke and mirrors. Is that what you really want? It's all smoke and mirrors. Put your money where your mouth is and stand up and support them. If that's what you're saying that you're doing, then do it. Stop talking. Your actions speak louder than words. And if Senator Mackenzie cannot support the dairy industry bill today, that it gets up, then I call for her resignation.
Order, Senator
as
Hanson. Time for the
Minister.
debate has expired. Now, I remind senators before I put this motion what the effect of this motion will be. The effect of this motion will be to bring on not only introduce the bill, which would have happened by order of the Senate last Thursday, but to bring it on for debate and sweep away other business until 12:20, unless the debate is adjourned beforehand. So it will take all of the time until 12:20. If this motion is not supported by the Senate, Senator Hanson will still have the opportunity to introduce the bill only and table a second reading speech, as is the normal course of events when a bill is introduced by, in this case, a non-government senator. So I'm going to put the motion moved by Senator Hanson. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. The noes have it. Division required. Ring the bells. The result of the division is 36 ayes and 36 noes. The matter is therefore negatived.